Hi, I'm Pandora's Books, and I have never read The Hunger Games.
What?
The Hunger Games is about... What is The Hunger Games about?
It's about games where they're hungry.
It's about games where they're hungry.
I think Hungry Hippos is one.
The Hunger Games is about some bread being thrown, poisonous berries, a big forest, and someone called Snow. President Snow.
President Snow.
President Snow. That is...
Did you write their press releases?
Yeah. I have very nicely been gifted the deluxe editions of the Hunger Game trilogy, plus The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by my fiance's cousin for my birthday, and I just thought I'd film my reaction reading the trilogy for the first time, and I'll also watch all of the films. I can't get it out.
That's what she said.
Michael!
Don't worry, Taya. I'll save the day.
Oh, don't drop
I'm
them!
not going to. I'm not going to.
Oh, there's movement. Ah! Wait.
Oh, no, wait, got it.
Pass it! Just pass.
Oh,
Jesus, what are you doing?
well, I've got a plan.
Wait! Leave me to... I'm a strong, independent woman. I can do this. The first book.
Nicely done.
So we're just going to start with the first one. This is what the deluxe edition looks like, with nice sprayed edges. And it's also floppy. It's so good. I love a floppy book. Anyway, let's get straight into reading. Okay, I am just over 25% of the way through, about to start chapter 8, and I'm really enjoying it. It is a fun read. It's also really quick to go through. So I've just gotten up to the bit where she's had that private training where she shot the arrow into the apple to get the attention of all the game makers. Game makers, is that what they're called? Yeah. There's something about the writing style that I'm really enjoying. There's not a lot of dialogue, or there is dialogue, but there's a lot of sections where instead of using dialogue, she's written it within the prose. I'm liking all the characters. I'm liking Katniss. I'm liking Peter. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I want to get through as much of this as I can before the end of the day. I had read the first chapter last night, so I've managed to read 6 chapters today. So I'd say that's pretty good. I've flown through it, and let's get back to reading. I have just reached part 2. The ending of part 1 is just great. I went, oh, the ending.
Ding dong, you're not wrong.
And then Toby went, you're saying it as if there was like some romantic like sex scene, and it's not that. But it was the moment where they ask Peter, oh, do you have a girl at home? And he's like, oh no, but I have a crush on someone. And they're like, well, if you win, you know, then you can have her. And he goes, no, winning won't help because she came here with me. Oh my God, wow. Oh, I love it. I love the drama. Did he actually have a crush on her, or was that like his gimmick? I feel like it was that he did have a crush on her, but she thinks it's his strategy. I don't know, I'll find out, but I'm really enjoying it. And on to part 2, the game, or the games. So I've just gotten past the 50%. Toby!
Oh man, my wives are gonna kill me.
So I've just gotten past the 50% mark, and the games have officially begun. I was just getting so stressed, especially when I was reading about them being on their podiums and it's 60 seconds before they can officially step off. That was just such like an intense moment of when she's deciding, should I run for the bow and arrows? Should I do what Haymitch said and just run for the trees and find water? Oh my, I had to take a few breaks. I had to take a few breaks to like de-stress myself.
I'm hyperventilating. Does anybody have a giant paper bag?
I just, you know, started making conversation with my fiance to distract myself from the stress. It was fun, but my God. I'm now up to the part where she's had a few nights in the game. She's just made an alliance with Rue. And she thinks that Peter has betrayed her, but at the same time he saved her life with the wasps. She's not really sure where they stand, what his game plan is, but she's befriending Rue, and I know what happens to Rue. I wasn't originally going to mention this, but it's just so glaringly obvious to me now as I'm reading it. I read Powerless by Lauren Roberts earlier this year. Did not like it. I've got a video on my channel going through how much I did not like that book. But everyone had deemed it as a Red Queen / Hunger Games ripoff, essentially. I'd already seen the Hunger Games elements in Powerless without actually having read the Hunger Games. My God, it's so obvious. Reading this book, seeing where she got the inspiration from it, and it's also so crazy seeing it done well. There is nothing in this book so far that I think needs to be cut. Everything has a purpose. The world building is great. Like, I truly understand the world that we're in and the way that society works, and when you compare it to rip-offs like that, it's just night and day. I'm hoping that I can finish it either today or tomorrow, and then I can watch the movie for the first time in probably 10 years, 12 years.
It's been 84 years.
Okay, let's get back to reading. I reached the part where she dies, and it's really sad. I knew it was coming, and the moment they split up...
Well, I guess we better split up and look around.
And she even says, oh, I feel like, you know, I feel like something's off, but she knows what she's doing, and she's a strong girl, and I'm just like, oh no, I know. Something is off. I'm just so glad that, like, she ran after her, and she just killed the other boy on sight. Like, it was, I don't even care about you. Let me be here for Rue. Oh, it was heartbreaking. I'm gonna continue reading so that I don't think about it. It's really sad. Anyway. I thought I'd wait a bit longer before my next update, but I've just gotten up to the bit where they announced that there's a rule change. I thought they win because they do the whole, like, poisonous berries, we can't both die, so they'll have to let 2 people win. Is that something they changed for the movie? Like, if it's something they changed for the movie, I prefer that over them changing the rules saying 2 tributes can win this year if they're from the same district. I don't know. I was surprised. Back to reading. I'm now officially starting part 3. Exciting stuff. I have just finished the book, and I just have so many emotions, so many thoughts, and at the same time I feel like I need to process them. You spend so much time with Katniss in the games, and just being in the games and being in that survival mindset. Like, everything that Katniss does is like, yes, that's the right thing to do. That's all that you're thinking with. And then the moment she gets out of the games, it feels so alien to her because she's been in that mindset. It might not be that long realistically, but when you're put into that situation, it feels like a lifetime at that point. And so coming out of the games also as a reader, and then having that chapter or 2 after the games, I felt like my feelings mirrored Katniss's.
Let's just stop and analyse what's just happened there.
In that sense of confusion and trying to remember what's normal, because obviously she's going back to her normal life, but it's not going back to what it was before. I really loved Haymitch by the end. He felt like a father figure to Katniss, and the way that he looked out for her not only in the games but also afterwards, I just really loved. And it's clear that they have this level of communication between the two of them that just works. They understand each other very well. As for Peter and Katniss as a couple, I think it's frustrating for everyone because in Peter's mind, he has loved Katniss for 10 years. From Katniss's point of view, she has had no communication with him up until the games where they got to know each other. But at the same time, for the majority of that time, she wasn't allowing herself to get too close to him because one of them was going to die. They're in two completely different boats, and it's frustrating for Peter because he loves her and he believes that she's finally loving him back. And it's frustrating for her because she was doing what they needed to do to survive. And also for her, even if she did fall in love with him in the games, that situation is completely different then to the world outside of it. And you can't then just expect her to know what she's feeling when they go back to the normal world.
What do you want?
It's not that simple.
What do you want?
Haymitch didn't help. He could have at least kept Peter in the loop. I don't think Katniss loves either Peter or Gale. I think she thinks about it, but she doesn't think about it from a romantic sense. Does she care for Peter? Does she love him in a caring way? I think she does. I think she very much cares for him, feels protective over him. Otherwise, she wouldn't have spent so much effort in the games to keep him alive. I'm really excited for book 2. I'm a bit nervous because I know book 2 is like a special edition of the games and they bring back previous winners to then do the games again. I'll be really pissed, like, especially if I was Katniss, I just won the games and then next year I have to do it again.
Get off my lawn. Did you hear me? I said get off my lawn now.
My only concern is that it clearly can't be a repetition of this because we've seen the whole games now. Like, it has to be distinct enough to make it stand out and to have a purpose in this trilogy. But yeah, that's book 1. I really liked this book. I really liked it. I'm gonna give it a 5 stars. On to book 2 and the movie. So we just finished watching the movie.
As someone who hasn't read the book, I greatly enjoyed the movie. I think it's very well put together. Doesn't treat its audience like an idiot. Surprisingly graphic. I was surprised by how bloody it was because I've seen this movie before, but I don't remember it being like that. No, I just really liked it. I think the performances are great. The world is really well realised.
I was impressed with how much they managed to keep in the movie because normally book to movie adaptations, there's a lot that gets cut. The downside to it was that a lot of it was like bare bones action. They cut out a lot of the fluff, so we don't have that much time with Rue. We don't get to know her that much as a character. Her screen time is very little, I think. Speaking of Jennifer Lawrence, I think she did a really good job. She's
great.
She's really good in the film. I feel like in the book, Peter puts on the fact that he likes Katniss a lot more and like pushes it a lot more. In the movie, it doesn't feel like he's forcing anything. I kind of prefer him in the movie rather than the book. I don't know if that's a controversial opinion, if people preferred him in the book. What did you think of him as someone who hasn't read the book?
He's a bit of a nothing. He's not really an active character. He gets hurt off screen.
Yeah.
He stays in a cave dying and feeling ill.
Peter, again, I mean, it's very similar in the book. He's not got the skills to stay alive without Katniss in the book, but you still have more of him, and I think in the movie Peter falls into that same category with Rue. I think I'd rate it an 8.
Is that what I said as well?
You didn't give a...
Did I not?
No.
I was going to say 8. That is genuine. I was going to say 8.
He's copying me.
No, I was going to say an 8.
Back to reading the second book and seeing where it takes us. Katniss Everdeen survived the Hunger Games. Now the Capitol wants revenge. So I'm 30% of the way through Catching Fire, and I'm really enjoying it. It's nice to spend more time in District 12 and with Katniss's family. I'm also glad that we had a scene between Katniss and Peter where he apologizes for how he acted at the end of book 1, because that annoyed me a little bit, how he was angry at her for not actually being in love with him, and he acknowledges that. They have a talk about it and apologizes for it, which I really appreciated. They've done the tour, they've visited all the districts, they've had the warning about the uprising. I'm interested in when the whole Hunger Games All-Stars is gonna start. Hey now! That's the only thing I do know about book 2. So I'm wondering when that will come into play. Maybe President Snow can see that they're conspiring against them, and so they come up with the idea of All-Stars. But we shall see. Also, I assume because there was a new game maker, I think is the term, the head game maker, he shows her his watch, and for a second it flashes a Mockingjay. I assume that was his way of signalling that he's on her side, or that he's on the side of the rebellion. I feel like that point was emphasized a lot, that it must mean something like that. So I'm interested in where that's gonna go. I've officially reached the part where she finds out that she's gonna be in the games. It took a lot longer than I was expecting it to. I'm 174 pages in, and that's when, you know, they announced that the 75th Hunger Games is gonna be of victors from previous games. That just feels really far into the book. So clearly the games aren't gonna take up as much as they did in the first book. I imagine that we're also gonna have a decent chunk at the end where it isn't in the games either. Yeah, so now I'm really curious what happens, because there can't be 2 victors again. I'm really interested, and I'm glad that we've now got, like, the plot is starting.
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm. What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure? Stay calm!
While everything up until this point was needed, it's very interesting, and it's explaining the political moment in this time. I felt like there wasn't any goal we were going towards. There wasn't like a distinct plot. We were just living day to day and things were happening, and Katniss was learning about what was going on in other districts, but there wasn't like an arc yet. The arc hadn't started. And now that the games has been announced, there's a set plan now to the plot. So I'm excited for that. Aside from that, I don't think there's much to update. So let's see how much I can get finished tonight. You'll have to excuse the get up, but I just read the part with the interviews, and when Peter announces that Katniss is pregnant, and then everyone, like all the victors, the previous victors, hold hands. That part was really moving. I felt like I was gonna tear up at it. And I can't fully explain why, but like, just the camaraderie between all of them. Even though like leading up till now, they haven't all gotten on. But like this moment of them just sticking it to the Capitol when President Snow and everyone just being an uproar over it. I really like that moment. And I'm just about to start the games. Katniss is saying her goodbyes to Cinna. It's all very sad. And when she was saying bye to Haymitch and like I know they're clearly gonna survive. I just don't know how. So I'm just in sadness. Anyway. To continue being sad and reading. Literally, like, I read 2 sentences after that update, and they take Cinna away, and I'm just really sad. What the hell? She gets on the platform in the cylinder, and then they come in and beat him up and drag him away. What is going on? Why are they... Oh, I love Cinna. Why? Guys, this is a sad book. This is a sad book. Okay, now back to reading. So I've officially finished the second book now, and I really enjoyed it. Definitely 5 stars. I didn't end up updating in the last bit with the games because I was just so in the zone of reading, and I read it all in one night. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I was worried that the games would be too repetitive, but it was different enough and fresh enough that it didn't feel that way at all. It was just such a stressful read at the end, because I was like, it was that thing of once I finished the book, I could finally breathe again, even though it leaves on a huge cliffhanger. Also, I feel like in the arena, that's when we finally have more development towards Katniss and Peter's relationship. I think you can finally tell now that Katniss is realizing she has feelings for Peter that aren't an act. She genuinely does care for him, and she's surprising herself. She's having these thoughts and she's surprised that she feels this way about him. And I'm enjoying that development. I'm enjoying seeing her discover her feelings towards him. The cliffhanger is huge.
Huge.
And I'm so glad that I'm reading these not as they were coming out, because if I was, I would have hated waiting a year or however long it was for the third book. I gave this 5 stars, absolutely loved it, just like the first one. I think I preferred the first one, but I think it's because it's that first book. Everything's new, everything's fantastical. This is developing on to that world and onto the third book, which I imagine is going to be very different, because it's the final book, it's the rebellion. I know that much about it, that this is the book with the huge uprising. Let's get reading Mockingjay, the last book. So we've just finished watching Catching Fire, the movie. I really like the film. I'm amazed at how much they managed to keep in the film and the pacing of the film.
I think these have been pretty consistent in terms of their quality. Obviously, this one had a much bigger budget.
Yes, you can tell there's more money behind this one.
Definitely.
They have a throwaway line that's like, for the third quarter quell, we're going to the capital of really spared no expensive. They've got a new arena, new rooms, new training centre, and it's just their excuse to say, we've got a bigger budget,
Well, it's
so
like
we've
the
redone
filmmakers are saying,
everything.
we've got better cameras, we've got better equipment, the image is crisper, we haven't got as much shaky cam. You've got little key points throughout. You've got little beats in the games. There's not that many beats in the actual games itself. It's much more about the build-up to the games and the implications of the first film.
A bit more happens in the games in the book, but again, they've just condensed it down so that, essentially the same things happen, but without all the faff in the middle.
It's the same formula, essentially, of people going into the games, and it's the same sort of routine inside, but it's got enough different as to where you're watching it and you're not going, I've seen this before, and I'm bored.
It's similar to the book in the sense of it doesn't feel like you're reading the same thing. You've got a new favourite character.
Yeah, I really like, what's her name, Joanna?
Joanna.
I really like Joanna. She's very headstrong.
You really like that elevator scene, that lift scene.
Hamish liked it. Peter liked it. I don't see why I can't like it.
Now the question is, do you prefer this film over the first film?
I think I prefer the first film.
I prefer the first film. What would you rate it?
7.
7. I gave an 8 for the first one. I think I'll give a 7 for this one, yeah.
I think it's very close to being as good. The first one feels rougher, which I think for the premise works. It's a very violent, dark premise. And the intensity of the first film, the shaky cam, the sort of grittiness of it.
You know what? I think the first one was gorier.
It was gorier. That's another thing.
Alrighty, well that was our review again. So now that I finished Catching Fire and watched the movie, it's time to start Mockingjay, the final book. I'm not going to read the spin-offs just because I want to enjoy the trilogy as it is, and I'll take a break and then I'll read the spin-offs at a later date. I'm so excited to see how this wraps up. This is where I have the least amount of knowledge for the series. All I know is there is a revolution, which you kind of get the gist of that at the end of book 2, so it's not really a surprise. I'm excited to get the conclusion to this whole trilogy. So yeah, let's get straight into it. No point delaying it any further. Let's start Mockingjay. I think I'm losing a bit of the momentum just because work, and it is the third book that I'm reading in quick succession, but I'm still enjoying it. The audiobook is just helping me out. We've gotten to the point where Katniss has decided to be the Mockingjay. she has gone on her first mission, if you will. We've had the part where they blow up the hospital and she does that signature line that works really well for the propo. Yeah, it's interesting seeing it from that perspective of these scripted propos, as if she is in battle but she isn't, but really she thrives the best when she is thrown into a real life circumstance. Boggs is a new character, which is, I called him Coin's right-hand man. He seems to be kind of like a bodyguard for her. Not so much a bodyguard, but like he looks after her. He keeps his eye out for Katniss, and I'm liking him. I'm not really sure where exactly we're going yet with all of this. We've spent a lot of time leading up to Katniss actually agreeing to be the Mockingjay, and now she's been on her first mission. And we've had that little bit with Peter where he's appearing on TV and he's saying things that aren't helping the situation. I've just gone up to the bit where he's on TV and he sees Katniss for the first time, realizes that, you know, she's alive, and he strays off script or whatever President Snow wants him to say, and then it cuts with, you know, his blood on the tiles. So I assume we're gonna go on a rescue mission. Something's gonna happen because we've got to have Peter back. Like, we've spent so much of this book without him in it, and I miss his presence in the book, really. And I miss seeing Katniss and Peter interact. I also miss seeing Katniss and Haymitch interacting like they did before. I don't like it. Let's continue. We are on part 2 officially now, the assault. So let's get back to reading. So I have finally finished Mockingjay and the original trilogy. I absolutely loved this world and these 3 books, and I'm annoyed it took me so long to get around to these books, 15 years or however long it's been. I fell in love with them, fell in love with the world and the characters. I did not love this book as much as the first 2. This one I gave a 4 stars rather than the 5 stars. That doesn't mean that I dislike this book. It still very much was enjoyable to read, but I don't feel like I was obsessed with it as much as I was with book 1 and 2. And I feel like that was bound to happen because this book follows that book 3 syndrome of dystopian trilogies or novels where you end up being in like this new environment with the good people, and it feels so distinctly different from the previous books that you know and love. It feels kind of alien, and you spend most of your time in this new safe haven and you're introduced to so many new characters, and you kind of lose touch with those original characters that you fell in love with. For example, Haymitch for me. Like, Haymitch felt like a completely different character to me in this book. He felt cold. He felt like he reverted back to something worse than book 1 version of him, and we lost so much character development. The majority of this book, and not that he is in a lot of this book, but the little that he is in this book, he's cold, he's distant, he's just not the character that we grew to love in book 1 and 2. Peter is also gone for the majority of this book, and when he does show up, he's not Peter. He is brainwashed, he acts like a completely different character. Essentially, we've lost 2 main characters in this book. Gale seems cruel to me, at least. He seems cold and not on the same wavelength as he is with Katniss. Prim, there's very little of her.
Men of Farquaad stature are in short supply.
Her death at the end didn't really hit me. All these characters that we've come to learn about are barely in this book, and we get bombarded with so many new characters, and that really is a detriment to this story and the ending to the book. And Katniss herself kind of feels different in this book. She doesn't really feel like herself. Most of it she spends inside, not really doing much, complaining. I liked the parts where she was out in the open and in the action, and we got to see her thrive in that environment. Otherwise, in District 13, she wasn't really doing anything. As for the love triangle, I've read a lot of YA books and trilogies where there's love triangles. There's like the least amount of romance in this book compared to loads of other trilogies or fantasies, there's not much romance in this story. I also think my main issue with the book is that the beginning of this book felt so widely different to the last third of this book, where we go into battle. Basically, the first 2/3 of this book I feel like could have been tightened up. We could have focused more on one storyline, with having Katniss being the face of this revolution. What should have been the focus was saving Peter from the start, and having more of a B-plot focusing on how District 13 seems like it's a good place but isn't really, so that that twist at the end doesn't feel so out of place. Once they save Peter, then they can focus on getting Peter back to normal. I just feel like there was a lot of nothing everywhere else. But all that being said, and I know that's a lot of negatives, I did enjoy this book. I think I would order them book 1, 2, and 3 as my favourites, 1 being my favourite, 3 being my least. And I'd give this 4 stars. As for the whole series, absolutely loved it, absolutely fell in love with it. I would highly recommend The Hunger Games to anyone who hasn't read it. I can definitely see myself rereading this in a few years' time. So that was me reading The Hunger Games for the first time. When did you first read them? How would you rate them? And what order would you put them in? And I shall see you next time. Bye. Now to watch me struggle putting these back into this. That actually wasn't that hard. The first time I did it was a lot harder. Aren't they pretty?